Hey guys, so today I'm here with the Rock Slide Engineering Gen 2 step sliders fitting all 2018 and newer 4-door JL Wranglers. So if you're not a fan of the factory side step, or you don't have a side step at all and you're looking for something that's going to provide you a lot of protection and convenience filling up that wheel-to-wheel space, this option by Rock Slide Engineering is going to be a really good one to take a look at. So this is going to be perfect for somebody who's looking for some heavy-duty protection to their very vulnerable rocker area. So this is going to be very durable, made of a CNC cut 11 gauge steel, making sure that this is able to tackle any trail and slide off any obstacle. Now what I really like about the design is the fact that it fits high and tight to your rocker area, so this is not going to snag you up on any of those obstacles, and it's also going to provide some underbody protection as well as come out a little bit farther on the side to protect your body from any side dings or even any door dings in the parking lot. Now not only is it just going to provide that protection, but as soon as you want to get into your Wrangler and have that convenience, all you have to do is open up the door and the step will come right down. Now this is going to give you instant accessibility to the inside of your cab area, making it very easy to get in and out of your Jeep as well as your passengers. And it's also going to help you out with any roof access if you do have a roof rack or if you're just taking off your Freedom panels. Now this is going to have a long step, which is going to provide some good coverage for the front and the rear door, and you're even getting a non-slip pad, which is going to provide you some extra traction on those wetter days. Now when you close up your door, this is going to tuck right back up into the rock slider itself, making sure that this is going to stay out of the way, especially for those obstacles on the trail, and it's going to make sure that this thing is looking very sleek and compact, and that's one thing that I really do like about this. So this is obviously going to be a little bit more expensive considering that this is a powered step at roughly $1,800, but I personally think for what's included in the package and how inclusive this is, that that's a pretty good price point as far as a powered step is concerned. So there are not many options when it comes to powered steps for JL, but if we look at pricing for the predecessor, the JK, $1,800 is a very average price point. So if you are looking for a lot of convenience, if you're looking for something that's not only going to give you that convenience, but also a lot of heavy duty protection and be a very inclusive kit, there's actually no splicing or extra wiring that you have to do, then I personally think that this is going to be right up your alley and be a very good option to take a look at. So this is actually going to be a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. Like I said, the installation as well as the wiring is pretty straightforward. I would, however, recommend to have a friend on hand to help you get these mounted up. But speaking of that install, let's jump into that now. The tools that I used for my install were an impact wrench, pneumatic and electric, a large flathead screwdriver, a trim removal tool, a panel removal tool or a pry tool, the provided ratchet in the JL toolkit, a 1/4-inch drive ratchet, 13mm and 11mm ratcheting wrench, a pair of side cutters or snips, 18mm, 13mm, 10mm, and 8mm deep socket, and the provided T40 Torx bit in the JL toolkit. So our first step for this install is to remove the 2 bolts on the front of our pinch weld so they don't interfere with our step slider. I'm going to use a 10mm socket and my impact wrench to remove them. So our next step after those 2 bolts are removed is to loosen up the 3 body bolts so we can loosely install our brackets. Now they are going to be different for the front, the middle, and the rear. The taller one is going to be for the front. The longer one is going to be for the rear, and the shorter one is going to be for the middle. So we can take an 18mm socket and an impact wrench and loosen all 3 of them up. So with an 18mm socket, we can start up at the front. Now we don't need to fully remove them, we just want to loosen them up so we can wedge our bracket in between. So we can take our provided bracket. You may need to install the first one or the front one at a 45-degree angle. And this is going to go in between the bolt head and the washer. So once that's in place, we can move to the middle and then to the rear. Right, so once that's in place, we can move to the rear. So what we can do now is install our bumper guard. This is going to protect the side of our body from the rock slider, make sure there's no damage to our body. This is going to have a 3M tape on the back. We're going to make sure that this is lined up with the body line on the back with the notch facing down. I peeled back some of the backing here. We're going to line this up, place this on, and then we can start to peel our backing. So what we can do now is mount up our rock slider. There are studs on the rock slider, so we're going to line them up with the pinch weld and it will hang in place. Now we want to keep in mind that these brackets are going to go on top of our rock slider so we can bolt them through the rock slider into the bracket. So I would recommend to grab the help of a friend because these are pretty heavy. So what we can do now is attach our rock slider to our pinch weld. You can see that it's hanging here on the pinch weld. We just need to secure it down. So we're going to grab our washer. This is going to be the silver hardware in the kit. So it is going to be a tight fit. And we can secure the other one. So the one in the front is going to be a little bit smaller, so we'll use the smaller stainless hardware for that front stud. So we're going to leave everything loose right now and then we'll tighten everything down at the end once we have everything attached. So now we can move on to our rear bracket. There's going to be 4 mounting locations and we're going to use our copper hardware to secure that down. So now we can take our hardware for the body bolts and thread them into each of their mounting locations. We're going to have 4 on each of the body bolts. So once all 6 of those bolts and nuts are threaded on, we can do the same thing for the front and the middle brackets and studs. So what we can do next is tighten everything down. I'm going to start with the studs up at the front, using a 13mm ratcheting wrench to tighten down the larger stud and an 11mm ratcheting wrench to tighten down the smaller stud. Now on the front and the rear, your frontmost and your rearmost stud are going to be the smaller ones. That'll take the 11mm. So what we can do next is tighten up our 4 bolts that are holding on to our body brackets. I'm going to be using a 13mm deep socket to tighten those up. So we're gonna save this body bolt for last so we can move on to our middle and our rear bracket and do the same thing with the studs and the body mounting bracket. So our middle two studs are both gonna be 13 millimeters, so I'm gonna use a 13 millimeter ratcheting wrench on both. So again, we'll be using a 13 millimeter ratcheting wrench and an 11 millimeter ratcheting wrench to tighten down the back two studs. Now we can tighten up our body bolts. So now with our 18 millimeter socket, we can tighten up our body bolts. So after we've tightened up everything on this side, we can go and do the same thing on the other side, and then we can wire everything up. So what we can do now after we have both rock sliders installed is wire them up. Now this is going to be pretty easy. We don't have to splice into any existing wiring harnesses. We do have one big wiring harness that's going to control everything. So we have the control box in the back that is going to sit underneath our back passenger seat. We have some actuators as well as some magnets to make sure that the rock slider is going to come down when any of the doors are opened. And then we also have our power wires that are going to go in our engine bay. So there are some longer wires up front that we'll handle on the driver's side. We'll route them up to our engine bay, and then all of that over there is going to sit on the passenger side. Now the other thing about this is that this also will be able to mount up accessory lights. By Rockslide Engineering, we do not have those. However, I did label those out, so I will show you guys when we do actually mount it up. Those are also going to be plug and play as well. So what we can do next is start removing some of our trim pieces so we can access underneath our carpet so we can route our wires. So what we can do first is pull this trim panel off. This is the panel where we access our door and our door's wiring harness. So in order to access our kicker panel right here, I do want to kind of open up the door so we can have some better access. So we're just going to unhook this from our hook here, and then we can take a T40 Torx. I am using the Torx bit that's included in the JL toolkit. And then we can just remove this bolt here. This is going to give us some more room to work with. So once that's removed, we can just pull up on this wiring harness. Make sure that that clip is pulled up. We can disconnect that, get our door out of the way. Just be careful of your mirror. So what we're going to do now is remove this wiring harness for our door from our panel here, and that's going to make sure that we can unhook this all because this whole kicker panel is connected around our hook here. So then I'm going to take a 10 millimeter socket. We're going to remove this nut. That's holding part of our kicker panel on. Keep this. And then we'll be able to pry this off. Now, this is only held in by a couple of fasteners. Right. So once that is unclipped, we can move this out of the way. So now that that's removed, you can tell this is where some of our wiring harnesses already are, and we're gonna run our main power wires up through our firewall underneath our trim panel to make sure it's really clean. And then we can move this forward. So again, with my pry tool, I want to make sure that this is going over our carpet, not pushing it back. This is kind of all going to be the same piece. So we don't need to completely remove this one. We just want to move this forward. We do have to access underneath our carpet over here to make sure that we are running our line through. So now we can repeat that process on the other side. So underneath the carpet on all four corners, you're gonna have a grommet here. This is gonna look like it's welded basically into our body. It's not. This is a gasket material that we can remove. So I'm just gonna take a flathead screwdriver, kind of break that seal, and you just pry up on it and it should pop out. Right? So once that's popped out, this is where we can route our wires through. And we can repeat this process on all four corners. So after we have all of our trim panels and our grommets pulled, what we can do is actually start to install our wiring harness. Now the 18-pin connector and the shorter side of our wiring harness is gonna stay on our passenger side. And then what we can do for now is actually route our driver side wiring harness underneath our carpet onto the driver's side, and then we can kind of tuck everything up and pass everything through when we're over on the driver's side, but we're gonna start on the passenger side. So I'm just gonna pull this up and start to pass this under. And then we can go on the other side and kind of pull it through. We should be able to pull it through as a unit and then come back to the passenger side. So I started by passing our longest wire, which is our LED switch wire, through, and then we can kind of pull everything else through. So I did label everything. This is gonna be our battery and power wire. And if we keep pulling through, we should be able to grab our other switch wires for our actuator and our step. So we will come back to this, but on here we have a couple of things. We have our driver's side actuator, we'll have our driver's side rear, and then we will also have our driver's side LED lights. We're not gonna be using this, so we're gonna tuck this into our carpet. But then we should also have our driver's side front actuator. So we're gonna leave everything over here and then start by working on the passenger side. So we're gonna have 4 connectors. We're gonna have 2 connectors that are gonna be for our door sensors. One is gonna go to the front and then one is gonna go to the rear. We're gonna have a connector for our LED lights. Now you can add this at a later date. We are not going to be using this, so we're gonna tuck this underneath our carpet. And then we have our actuator that we're gonna put through our floor, and this is going to plug into our rock sliders. So we're gonna start with our actuator and go underneath our carpet through this grommet. Right, so once that's through, we can tuck that down. Make sure our wires are untangled. We're gonna send this all the way through. Then what we can do is take passenger rear and run this up the side. Then we can tuck that carpet back into place. Keep that right there for now. We can take our LED wire, curl this up, and place this underneath, tuck it under here. Then we can move this, which is our passenger front, up through here, and we'll be able to hook this up on this side here. So what we can do now is place our sensor underneath our striker here. You're gonna get some 3M tape and put that on the back. Peel the backing off. Stick that underneath. And we can plug this into our passenger rear and tuck this in our carpet. So now we can start to tuck everything back into place and reattach our trim. So really all we just have to do is apply pressure again, making sure that really everything's lining up. So what we can do is plug in our actuating wire to our rock slider, and this is the one that we passed through the body of our Jeep. Should hear a little snap, and then you want to make sure that we tuck this away securely. So I would recommend to zip tie it. I'm actually going to push some of that excess up through underneath our carpet, and that should make sure that it's secure. I would recommend to maybe zip tie it here just for some extra security, but then we can repeat that process on the other side. So what we can do now is add our magnet. This is going to have a little bit of backing, and it's going to have some 3M on the other side. This is going to make sure that when we close our door or open our door that our step goes down or goes back up. So you want to make sure that it's going to be even with the sensor. And we can stick that on and make sure that that lines up. So what we can do is take the wiring harness that's going to be connected to our battery and route them through our firewall so we can connect them to our main power harness. And then what we can do is connect the wire to our battery when we're all finished. We just want to make sure that this is going to reach over there and connect, and then we can tuck everything up and connect it to our battery. So there is going to be a pass-through on the driver's side or the left side of your brake master cylinder here. You may have to use a flathead screwdriver to remove the cover, but if you don't have a cover there, you can take this harness and we can pass this through. I find it a little bit easier to do this before we mount this up to our battery, just because we have all this slack here, and then we can pull it tight. So this should drop right next to our brake pedal, or if you have a manual transmission, it should drop right next to your clutch pedal. Then we can go back inside our cab area and connect those. So this is the wire that's going to come through our firewall. We're going to plug this into our main harness here. Red into red, black into black. And then this is going to be a switch wire for our lights. Now, we are not using lights, so we're gonna curl this up and tuck this underneath our carpet. What we can do now is pull this back from the firewall and put on our trim piece. So I'm just gonna move that out of the way. What we can do is kind of tuck this underneath our seat here, because we won't really need to access this. But if we do need to, all we have to do is pull off this kicker panel and then pull that out. So we can run this along underneath our carpet. Alright, so once that's under the carpet, we can go back to the engine bay and pull this through so we don't have this slack here, and then we can reinstall our kicker panel. Making sure that everything's out of the way, we can hook this on. We will need to make sure that this is going around that bolt here, so you kind of might have to finesse it a little bit, but you should be able to get it back in place. So we can tighten that back up with that 10mm socket. Pop this clip back into place. Then we can reinstall our door and then move back to install our control unit. So right now I'm trying to make sure that the magnet is aligned. However, once we have everything plugged in, if the step is not coming out when you have the door open, you may need to realign the magnet. So what we can do next is attach our control box. This is gonna have an 18-pin connector, and this is our main control wiring harness. So we're gonna plug this in. And like I told you guys, this is the back passenger seat. So plug that in until it clicks. You can do a couple of things with this. You can zip tie this up to the bottom of your seat. You can tuck it underneath your carpet and just let it hang out there. That's what I'm gonna do, just because I don't want to interfere with how this is bent down once we recline our seats if we have to. So I'm just gonna tuck this underneath our carpet. Very easy to do that. So what we can do is just tuck this underneath the seat. Now, if you want to zip tie it, you can zip tie it up here. I just want to make sure that we have all the free movement that we need when we put down our seat. So it may be a little bit of a bulge in the carpet, however, you're really not going to be able to see this at all. So for the switch wire, what we're gonna do is just tuck this up on the side as well. We wanna make sure that this reaches back behind our OBD2 because we're gonna attach a bracket here. But for right now, we're just gonna tuck this up and we can reinstall our kicker panel. Now, making sure that this is in place. Make sure that those wires come out, and then we can give this a little pressure. Pop this back in. Give it a little pressure in back. Reinstall this 10mm bolt and tighten it down with that 10mm socket. Plug our door harness back in, flip back into the body. And then we will be able to mount up our bracket. So what I'm actually gonna do is remove this bolt, just kind of loosen this up, and then I'm going to take our ground wire and attach it behind there. We don't need to remove it all the way, we just need a good ground. So then what we can do is route these through the bracket. We can go behind our OBD2 so they're tucked up. We can grab our switch, making sure that the red wire is on the copper and that blues are on the silver. And we can mount this up into place. Right, so after that's installed, what we can do is reinstall our door and then head to the engine bay. So what we can do next is take our leads. Now I did remove the fuse just to protect the fuse. We don't want to blow it right away. So what we're gonna do is just push our power wire cover back. We're gonna attach our negative and our positive wires to our battery's accessory terminals. So we're gonna attach our power first. I'm using a 10mm socket and a 1/4" drive ratchet. Then we can attach our negative terminal, same 10mm socket. We can pull our cover back up. And what we can do is kind of route this wire on the side, making sure that nothing's touching anything hot. Then we can reinstall our fuse. So that's going to wrap it up for my review and install. Make sure you like and subscribe, and for more videos and products like this, always keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.